There are moments in our lives that are technically over, situations that already played out, conversations that already happened, things that, if we really look at them, are clearly in the past. But for some reason, they don't feel over at all. Not because anything new is happening, not because the situation is still active, but because our minds keep pulling us back into them like they never fully ended in the first place. And it's so strange when you start to notice it, because it's not like you choose to go there. It doesn't feel intentional. It just kind of shows up in the middle of normal life. Like you're doing something simple, something present, and then your attention quietly shifts. And before you even realize it, you're back in that moment again, hearing the same tone, replaying the same words, feeling that same tension like it's happening right now instead of something that already came and went. And I don't know about you, but I've had those moments where I catch myself halfway through one of those replays and I realize I'm not even looking for anything anymore. I'm not gaining clarity. I'm not figuring something new out. I'm just going through it again, slightly changing what I said, imagining how it could have gone differently, like there's still something left to fix if I just think about it long enough. And I think a lot of us have been there more times than we'd like to admit. But when you slow that down and really look at it honestly, most of the time there isn't anything left to solve because it already happened. There's no new information coming in, there's no response waiting on the other side, there's no version of the past that's going to update itself just because we revisited it again. And yet, even knowing that, we still go back, not just once or twice, but enough times that it starts to feel like the moment is still active somehow. And I think that's where things start to get a little distorted without us even realizing it. Because the more we replay something, the more our minds start to treat it like it's current, like it's present, and it's still something we need to respond to. And what that does is we end up feeling the same emotions again, sometimes even stronger and more negative than before. Not because it got worse, but because we've now lived through it over and over again in our own heads. And when you really sit with that, there's a difference that becomes hard to ignore, which is the difference between something that hurt you once and something we've now experienced 100 times through repetition, not in real life, but internally, just by going back to it again and again. There was a point where I started noticing that I wasn't just remembering things, I was reliving, re-entering them. Like I'd be somewhere physically, but mentally I was somewhere else entirely. Back and trapped in a conversation that already ended, back in a moment when something didn't sit right, and my body would react like it was current. Even though nothing around me had changed, and the more I noticed it, the more I realized how easy it is for us to get pulled into that loop without even thinking about it. And that's when the questions start to shift for me, because instead of asking myself, why did that happen, or what should I have done differently, I found myself asking something simpler, but a lot harder to ignore. Why do we keep going back to something that isn't happening anymore? And the question doesn't come with an easy answer because part of us wants to justify it. Part of us says it mattered or it wasn't resolved or we never got clarity or closure. And all of those things can be true at the same time. But even if something did matter, even if it wasn't resolved, and even if we didn't get the closure or version of it we needed, it still doesn't change the fact that it's not happening right now. And that's where a small but important shift starts to happen because you begin to see that there's a difference between something being unfinished and something being repeatedly revisited, where one exists in the past and the other is something we're actively stepping back into over and over again in the present. And that realization isn't about blaming yourself or trying to shut the thought down. It's more like catching yourself in the middle of it and noticing, almost in a gentle way, that I'm back here again. Not because you need to be, but because your mind got used to going there, the same way ours do with anything we repeat often enough. Habits don't always feel like habits when they're internal. They don't look like routines or actions. They just feel like thoughts, and thoughts feel automatic. But that doesn't mean they can't change. It just means they've been repeated enough to feel familiar for us. The shift isn't about forcing yourself to stop thinking about it or pretending it didn't matter or pushing it away the second it shows up. It's about recognizing it while it's happening and slowly bringing your attention back to what's actually in front of you instead of what already passed. We don't have to keep reliving something just to prove that it mattered. That's a small shift, but it changes something important because it moves us out of a loop that feels automatic into something that at least has awareness in it. And awareness creates space. Space between the memory and how real it feels. Space between what happened and how often it gets to show up in our present lives. And I think that's where things begin to change. Not all at once, not in some big moment, but in a smaller, quieter moment where we catch ourselves going back, and instead of following it all the way through like we normally would, we pause just long enough to realize we don't actually have to keep going. Ultimately, it's our choice at the end of the day, because the moment already happened, it already played out, and it doesn't need to keep happening just because our minds know how to replay it. And over time, that starts to land in a quieter way, where the past doesn't disappear, it doesn't suddenly lose meaning, but it stops slowly feeling like something we're still trapped inside of, and instead it becomes something that happened and stayed where it happened. Thanks for watching, Rardo, and I'll see you in the next video.